cupolas of the Trinity San Sergios Lavra loom up surrounded by impregnable fortress walls. The Lavra is one of the most revered monasteries in Russia and a unique historical monument.
Now I will tell you about Saint Sergios of Rantonez, who was born from 1314 in the town on Rostov from pious parents called Kyrillos and Maria. The gods, seeing this wonder advance of the child in wisdom and in respect and in the holiness, he chose him as his deacon from his mother's womb. So before the saint was born, the next miracle happened. One of the Sundays, his mother, who was pregnant, was into the church and participated in the holy liturgy with other people too, with other pious people too. Suddenly, as she was hearing the reading of the Bible, the baby inside her womb called out loud. The voice was heard by many people, and especially by women who were near Maria. At the time of the psalm for the angels, the baby called again, and when the father of the holy liturgy, the priest, came to say out loud, giving, he said out loud, giving the holy to the holies, the holy people, the baby called for the third time. Everybody understood that the person who would come from that womb, the little baby inside, would be a great saint. It would be a light of the world and servant of the Holy Trinity. Some people say that he was into the liturgy with an angel. Someday, Saint Sergios was into the liturgy with his brother, Father Stephanos, and his nephew, Father Theodoros. Suddenly, the monk, Father Sergios, says that he saw in the temple a fourth priest with gowns that were lighting as the sun itself. In the little coming of the gospel, the person who was with the saint and was after the saint, coming, having a face so light that Father Sergius could not stare at it, couldn't see it. Full of surprise, he opened his lips and asked the guy near him, Father Macarius. He said, "What a wonderful thing is! What is that, Father? Who could be that priest who is so full of light?" Father Macarius, who was very righteous, he was able to see the same vision, and he answered, "I do not know him. I stand surprised too. Maybe there was a priest coming with Prince Vladimir." Prince Vladimir Andreevich was in that time in the temple with his rich people. The monks asked a lord who could be if they had a priest with them. He answered negatively. Then they understood that what was into the Holy Liturgy with the saint was an angel of God. In the end of the Divine Liturgy, The two fathers went toward to their head of monks and asked him about it. In the beginning, he tried to hide the truth. What the unusual was that you saw. We were in the liturgy, Father Seraphim, Father Theodorus, and I, the sinner. They insisted, and they started pleading him to tell them. My children, he said, if the Lord revealed to you something, how can I be able to hide it from you? What you saw was an angel of God, and not only now, but always in all the liturgies, he is in the liturgy with me. Guard what you saw and don't tell anybody until I die. That is from Archbishop Timotheus, St. Sergios of Rantonez, pages 61 to 63. Now we're going to the second miracle of Father Sergius. How deeply humiliating person was how deeply simple person he was. St. Sergius was always dressed poorly. That's why nobody recognized him, not even the visitors. Some peasant from a village far away said that he had a lot about the saint, so he wished to come and see him. He came into the monastery and started asking where he could meet the saint. They told him that he was in the garden. So he went to the garden and saw a very simple monk digging the earth, dressed as with a gown full of patches. The peasant thought that they lied to him so that he wouldn't meet the saint. He was waiting to see the first of the monks very dearly, very wonderfully dressed into the glory and honor. So came back to the monastery and asked calling them again and pleading them, please tell me where the holy man is. I came to bow to him ever since I'm very, very, very far away, and I would like to see him. The brothers answered him, the one you saw in the garden is our Holy Father. The peasant was unable to express his sorrow. He thought that they didn't want to tell him whether the Holy Father was. He was so upset. When the Holy Father came to the garden and went to the monastery, came from the garden and went into the monastery, he turned his face another place, so that he wouldn't see him. I've been to such a great trouble, he said, to come here to see the saint. And what happened? Nothing. That was into his mouth all the time. And he said, I came here to see a glorious prophet, and now what I see is a poor and badly dressed monk. The enlightened saint read his thinking, and with all his heart he thanked the Lord for all he had seen by that person who was full of glory, honoring and giving pleasure for the honors and the scriptures and the good things that he took, even though that he was so humble, and started to say hello, starting to be humble and started to be thankful for the sorrows and the humiliations. But sympathizing that uh, the simple peasant who was near him called him by his side and offered him food and told him gracefully, "Don't be sorry, brother. In a few minutes you will meet that who so much wish to see." As soon as this, uh, the Lord, the Holy Lord told him these things, one of the messengers came and reported the coming of the coming of was the coming of the prince of the Holy Land of that land. The the saint was got up and got out to pay homage to the honorable guest and invited him to come into the monastery. And that prince came with a lot of people. The prince seeing the priest, the prince seeing the first of the monks for the first time, he put a very big bow in front of him and asking humbly for his blessings. The Holy Father uh, gave blessings to the prince and his honor and the people near him, and with honor he was led to the inside of the monastery. They sat one by another and asking, discussing, while all the others became silent. The peasant could not believe his eyes. He who he had come so far away to see and he was in front of him. He who, with all that pious respect, uh, came to see, bowed in front of him, and the prince also bowed in front of him, to the same person that he had seen the first time, was the monk with the destroyed gown, and he himself despised and didn't want to be stopped. They didn't want to face him. He came slowly, and responded uh, to the questions. "Brother, who's that who's sitting uh, by your side? Who was sitting by your side, Prince? Uh, are you Are you a foreigner and you don't know the Holy Father? He is the leader of the monastery called Sergios. I am truly blind," he thought, "and I didn't recognize the good father, and he was only saying bad things to himself, that peasant." He came closer and full of shame for his own self. He came shame for himself because he couldn't recognize the Serious with him. Uh, he came closer with a lot of um, shame to closer to the saint, and bowing in front of him asked him to be apologized because he didn't dare uh, he was saying bad things about he was saying bad things about himself because he couldn't understand, he couldn't recognize the saint. He came later full of shame, and uh, that also happened about bowing to him. He came with shame and bowed in front of the saint and asked for forgiveness for his um, upcoming uh, position and upcoming reaction towards the holy man. He gave him parity and told him, he encouraged him and told him, do not be feared and do not be sad. One day, be very happy because you are the only one who thought correctly about me. The others are very Now I'll read you how humble St. Sergius was. St. Sergius was always dressed poorly. That's why nobody recognized him, not even the visitors. A peasant who came from a faraway village had a lot about him and wanted to see the saint. He wanted to go and see him. He came to the monastery and began asking where he would meet the saint. They told him that he was in the garden. He went to the garden and saw a very simple monk digging the earth, dressed in a gown full of patches. The peasant thought that they lied to him. He waited to see a very smartly dressed head of monks, among glory and honor. He came back to the monastery and started pleading about seeing the saint. Please tell me where the Lord is, where the holy man is. I came for so far away so that I could meet him, and I want to see him and bow to him. The others responded, the one you saw in the garden is our Holy Father. The peasant was unable to be comforted. He was so sad that when the saint came back from the garden and went into the monastery, he turned his face elsewhere, so that he wouldn't see him. I made so much trouble coming up here, he was thinking, to see a glorious prophet, and now I can see a very poor and badly dressed monk. The enlightened saint read his thinking of this peasant, and with all his heart he thanked the Lord, because as much as the person who likes glory is glad about the honors and the praises that everybody gives him, as much as the humble person is glad in the sorrows and into the humiliations. But liking this simple peasant, he called him beside him and offered him food and told him with grace, please don't be sorry, brother, because in a little while you will meet the one whom you so much wish to see. As soon as the saint said these things, a messenger came and said that in the monastery came the prince of the place there. The saint got up and get out to welcome the honorable guest, and who came with a big escort of other people. The prince, seeing the Holy Father, put a bow in front of him and asking humbly for his blessing. The holy person gave blessing to the prince, and with honor he led him to the inside of the monastery. They sat one by the other, simply near one by the other, and sat discussing, while all the other escorts were were upright. The peasant could not believe his eyes. He who, with all that respect, came to see and bowed in front of him was the prince, and the prince was bowing in front of the monk, with whom he despised and didn't want to see. He went slowly and humbly um, near them and asked somebody, "Brother, who's that who's sitting next to the prince? Are you foreign and you don't know him? This is the, the first of the monks here called Sergios." I was really blinded and didn't recognize the old person. He was saying bad things about himself, that peasant. Later on, he came near to the saint with full of um, shame, and putting a bow in front of him, asked him for forgiveness for his first position, for his first thoughts. He encouraged him and said, "Please don't be sorry. Be very glad, because you're the only person who thought right about me. The others are in a big confusion, thinking that I am something very big." The saint was very happy, more for the peasants' despise to him than for the Lord's honors. The peasant, again, so much impressed about the humble thinking of that saint person, that saint, that later on went again to the monastery and became a monk. This is from Archbishop Timotheus St. Sergios of Rantonez, pages 52 to 54. The next miracle of St. Sergios of Rantonez. The Lord gave to his servant Sergios of Rantonez something very unusual, something very miraculous power. He sat. Someday he made him. He made. He gave resurrection to a dead person. In the villages of the monastery, there was someone who had a very big respect and faith to the saint. His only son was sick from very unbearable sickness, and a sickness that couldn't become well again. With the thinking, with the dissipation of becoming well again, he came to ask for the saint for his help, bringing the sick person with him. But from all these bad things that happened in the street, and all those and all that street that they had to walk to, his child died. So he lost every faith, and the father of the child began to mourn and crying and saying to the saint, "Oh, to me, oh my God, how unhappy I am. I came here thinking and being sure that you would be helping me, but my only child died in the street. I wish I would never come to you, because my faith wouldn't be so hit, so being wouldn't be so unbelievable towards you." So with tears and cries and all this sadness, that that dear father went to find a coffin and some cloth to put to his child for the funeral. The saint was so sorry about him, and he started to pray fervently, and then he resurrected the child. When that terrible father, that father was so shocked in his heart by sadness, he came carrying the necessary for the child's funeral. The saint told him, "Please don't be so tired, and don't cry so much. You don't have to, because your child is not alive, is not dead, but he's alive. His father, that father who had by himself seeing that his son was dead, could not believe the words of the saint. He came closer, and he was um, he was uh, uh, couldn't believe about the child, couldn't believe that his child was alive, and couldn't believe the words of the saint. He came closer, and he found that by miracle his son was alive. And he started crying out loud from happiness and joy, and he was thanking the saint. This also comes from the Archbishop Timothy's book, St. Sergios of Rantonez, pages 49 to 51. Now, now this is the end of St. Sergios of Rantonez.